Hello everybody, John here, and today on To The Garage we're doing a final review of the Navara NP300 pickup at 66,000 miles and bidding it farewell. If you're new to the channel, then we cover all manner of car reviews, running reports, how-tos, repairs, mods, modifications and all things you can do in your garage. So please consider subscribing and supporting the channel. So I've had the Navara for 2.5 years, and through other videos, regulars will know I've done regular running reports telling you what's gone wrong along the journey. I chose it after really careful consideration amongst the other pickups available in the UK market, and my friends have the other two vehicles you can see there in the background, so I am aware of comparative levels of comfort, reliability, cost, etc. with most of the other pickups. The primary choice deciders, if you like, for the Navara were a good value for money. It was more comfortable in terms of ride comfort than the others on the market. That was probably the biggest swinger. I could easily have gone for the Mitsubishi, as I've had an L200 and enjoyed it before, but I've already had one. The Amarok was a little too expensive, and the Isuzu I found a little harsh. But this has been a very good experience in general. That's the main things to share. There's not been a lot of issues or complaints when it comes to this vehicle. I have modified it just slightly. So we have the front deflector or nose piece on the vehicle, partially a style thing, but it has absolutely prevented stone chips and damage to the front edge of the bonnet. And also when you're driving in rain and snow, you do notice, particularly at night when you got that sort of strobe effect, but it does deflect an awful lot of stuff straight over the top. The Navara comes as standard with a gunmetal coloured grille, grey I guess you'd call it, but that's the only place on the car it exists. That colour isn't repeated in any of the other plastics anywhere on the trim. So there is silver, but not that gunmetal. So I did an upgrade to basically disassemble the grille and make it satin black, and I think that looks significantly better and would recommend that as a quick and easy mod for anybody. A lot of people like dechroming these vehicles, and I've done lots of videos on how to remove the chrome elements, but I actually enjoy the chrome. It's just that gunmetal I couldn't cope with. I also fitted the wind deflectors for the windows. I find these particularly good at allowing you to have the window open a little way without the jet of cold air or buffeting, and just keeps the interior ambience a lot nicer. I don't think that the fresh air system in this vehicle is particularly good and feels like it's on recirculate most of the time. It also gives a little bit of a sun visor effect at the top of the window, and when you're doing a drive-through at McDonald's or similar, when you open the window, the rain pours in. This stops an awful lot of that. Really enjoyed having these deflectors. Would definitely fit them or very similar to subsequent vehicles. The only regret on those deflectors is you can get in-channel ones, and mine are stuck on the outside. I think the in-channel ones look a little better. Tyres, 66,000 miles. I'm starting to lose the inside edges of my current tyres, but they're still very serviceable, and on the outer edges they're actually looking in very fine condition. But these are the second set of tyres I've had from new, and I'm now wearing Avons, and that was actually part of a bigger, wider experiment, and we had videos at the time on comparing the tyres, making the choices, etc. So what you can see here is the original equipment tyres, which are the Continentals, or Continental I think is the correct pronunciation. And these came from the Nissan dealership on the vehicle. They have an awful lot of sipes, those very narrow slots and slits in the tread pattern, and they have no continuous gaps or tread grooves running front to rear. They're all interrupted by steps and channels. The sipes make them good in the wet, and in snow the non-continuous channels give them an off-road ability. You can see that the sort of sawtooth effect was starting to appear on the inside edges, which can be a sign of bad tracking, but is actually on this vehicle just a sign of the amount of camber it's got. So every time you go around a corner, in effect, you are scrubbing the inside of the tyres. I did get a screw in the tyre, combined with that inside wear gave me the chance and the time to change those tyres. They certainly weren't well worn down, and they got changed after they'd done nearly 40,000 miles. The replacements, which are Avon ZX7s, were chosen after a lot of great debate on the comments area of the videos, and looking at the experience of other people with similar vehicles. All who recommended these with a few little caveats, and the other things that made me sway towards this were fantastic wet weather abilities, as witnessed by these huge continuous grooves. This limits the vehicle's off-road ability, but that's not really a big issue for me. I live in a very rural area, but I hardly go off-roading. The tyres are also advertised as, and did prove to be, more of a quiet ride. They're definitely a softer, stickier rubber, and when pushing on they feel incredibly secure in the dry. These tyres have done around 26,000 miles, and again, outside edges beautiful condition, inside edges starting to scrub away, so don't last as well as the Continentals. Let's have a little look at the top. I've got the Truckman top. It's a Truckman Grand, and I think it does look great on this vehicle. It really suits the lines. I like the big single glass window which pops out at the back edge if you want a bit of extra ventilation in there. It's nice and clean and not fussy. I didn't like the look of the Nissan offering because it was such a fussy top. Like a lot of these tops, they are not 100% waterproof, and that is in a good deal due to actually the bed design, not the top itself. So you're not going to get 100% waterproof. Interior release handle I thought was particularly weak and flimsy, but not something I ever actually used. Interior lit, it's lined, it's got good clamps on it, gave no grief, looks fab. But you can see the bits of water in there. They're from jet washing the car, and you can see the daylight in the corner. That's in the bed, not the hood. So other than the fact that none of them seal particularly well onto the top of the tailgate, I think mine releases well. Another mod in my vehicle is I've got an Eagle conversion to central locking on the tailgate. It's common to have central locking on the canopy, but these vehicles require you to take the key out of the key fob to lower the tailgate. I hated that, so I converted it to central locking, and that worked really well, if noisily. My top of the range Tekna Plus model comes equipped with leather, or something that looks like leather at least, and I've got to say that it is worn very, very well indeed. I think it still looks smart. It's not the plushest of interiors because the dashboard is hard, durable plastics, but again, everything looks pretty much as when I bought it 2.5 years ago and 66,000 miles ago. The passenger seat hasn't seen an awful lot of wear. The driver's seat you can tell has been sat in, but other than that, nothing. The running boards are an optional feature that's on the Tekna Plus, and they're fine, but on the driver's side you can see all manner of scratches and scrapes in the satin black finish where stones in my shoes have cut it up. I think that's absolutely fair wear and tear and shouldn't be a criticism of the vehicle. You can see the driver's seat, you see what I mean? You can tell it's been sat in, it's got wrinkles, but the cheeks that you jump over all the time are still absolutely fine, and the bolsters at the back. I'm quite pleased with that for a car that's been used heavily practically every single day, doing big miles, and I'm not a small gentleman. As a driving machine, I genuinely believe the Navara to be a good, reasonably entertaining, very comfortable pickup truck. I believe the Amarok would be a better drive because of the nice engines available, but much firmer. And all reports I've seen of the Mercedes so-called pickup truck, which is just one of these with a different interior and yes, some extra refinements and body tweaks, say that they are very harsh. And I don't think I could have enjoyed driving any of the other pickups any more than this one. Overall, reliability in summary is that the vehicle has only let me down once, and that is with battery failure. It failed on my drive, which wasn't an issue. I recharged it, and then 2 days later it failed again. I think there is a challenge with the batteries. A little clip on that.
Just having a little rest. Even half a mile carrying a battery ain't easy. So, battery let me down for the second time in a week, and this time not at home, and because I'm in a bit of a hurry, I didn't want to wait for the recovery services. Half a mile away was Euro car parts, so pre-ordered my battery. I got some spanners in the back of the truck because to the garage, and now just walking back to a hotel to put it on.
And I have heard some stuff on the forums which suggests that the original equipment batteries do tend to fail after 2 years. Nissan's had a bad reputation with the previous models for chassis corrosion and even some failures, and I have been very disappointed that they didn't make more of an effort, given that bad rep, to put a better protective coating on the metal stuff underneath the vehicle. As you can see, there's lots of evidence in the wheel arch of orange where it should be black, corrosion starting to happen. And as an engineer, I can see that none of it's perforation rust, but it really does wind me up that they didn't make more of an effort. Now, while most people just have to worry about this by staring at it and think their car's going to collapse, I'm fortunate in being an engineer. I do have a boroscope and was able to do an internal inspection of the chassis for myself. I'm not going to bore you with the video because obviously it's very lengthy and very detailed, and most of it you don't even know which way I'm looking. But suffice to say, when you look inside the chassis rails, what you find is they're actually very well protected. So it is the external surfaces that are poorly protected, basically a bit of satin black paint, very little in the way of stone chip or underseal, and it looks bad. But it is surface corrosion, and given there are no wheel arch liners and my car's in the UK, it's nothing untoward. All these pictures are of the unseen areas, but the areas where a chassis might break, and they are absolutely fine. I do know through friends on the channel that some people have been able to obtain inspections and repainting of the chassis, bed off repainting, through Nissan. So it is worth, if it irritates you and you're keeping the vehicle for a while, saying you're not happy with the level of corrosion prevention because the external surfaces are so obviously marred. it's very difficult for them to say you're worrying about nothing. So I've got lots of other videos at the various mileage points throughout the vehicle's life. If you want to look at those, you'll see some of the more minor and niggly faults, issues, and more design faults, if I'm honest, than actual faults that I found on the vehicle. But it's been a good experience. I have now sold the Navara. This is some images of me handing it over to the man at We Buy Any Car, which is a company in the UK that literally guarantees to buy any vehicle. They'll always buy it at a price. They don't give you the best price, but they buy it there and then. I'd used their app about a month earlier to get some quotes, and they were actually competitive. They were probably £200 or £300 less than the dealerships were offering me, and the dealerships were all only really interested in buying it back if I was buying something else. Coronavirus has hit the UK quite hard. I'm self-employed and most of my clients are in lockdown, so I'm finding myself with a vehicle sat on the drive that's not doing anything and wanted it moved along quite quickly. So I decided that We Buy Any Car would be the place to go and just unload this vehicle. But unfortunately for me, I left a week too late, and in the interim between getting the first quote and getting another quote, literally 2 or 3 weeks, let's say the price dropped by £2,000 UK sterling, and that was all about lockdown. Again, checked out with the Nissan dealers, they weren't interested anymore for good reason in purchasing it, and whilst it wasn't the best price, it was reasonable, and the money in my bank is better than it being tied up on the drive just at the moment while I have very little work. Interesting discussion with the man from We Buy Any Car. Might be giving away some secrets, but hey ho. They genuinely don't make a lot on each vehicle. They average £300, but that is because they buy a lot of mediocre, middle of the road shopping cars, if you like, that nobody's very passionate about. And every single vehicle they buy goes to auction. Occasionally they make a killing because somebody brings in something unusual, and the quote that they give is straight off an algorithm from a computer. If you're taking in a particularly obscure or old vehicle, its computer price will be negligible, and they'll get something half decent if they take it to the right auction. Because of coronavirus, the auctions are actually shut because of the gatherings of people. So the price that I got was actually okay. Another week later, I rechecked using a colleague's similar vehicle registration, and again they dropped by another £2,000. So missed out on getting the right price and got a okay price. Certainly wouldn't be knocking We Buy Any Car. For your interest, the result of the man's examination was he had to enter a few stone chips onto the computer, and that knocked £200 off the actual given price. A little harsh, given I think my car's practically mint, but it is what it is. And that was bye-bye to the Navara. A pretty much positive experience. If you're interested in this, then you might be interested in subscribing to the channel. There's 25 plus videos connected with the Navara, all aspects of mod, maintain, looking after it, general discussions, reviews, etc. And there is other stuff on camper vans, Volkswagens, Jaguars, you name it. If you want to learn how to run a foundry in your own garage, then please subscribe to the garage. I can guarantee there'll be a replacement for the Navara, but I don't know what and I don't know when. Well, that's it from me. Hope you've enjoyed this clip. Stay safe, everybody. Stay in, everybody. And thank you to everybody who's looking after our interests in terms of the emergency services. And I'd like to include in that the heroes who are all of our delivery drivers. Love you all, guys and girls. Big thumbs up from me, and see you all again very soon. John out.